mercy on the enemy of Israel. He made him a treaty member. And that was this is the beginning of the end. The prophet comes from the end of the chapter. You're going to be punished for this. The king goes home angered. The king goes home saddened. And we're told that he has a winter or summer house in Israel. Right? Some of you know, if you're thinking of the mountain range of Israel, okay? From Hebron in the south, Yerushalayim in the center, Shiloh, mid-north, Shechem, and then it eventually leads to what's today called Jenin, Ganim. And Ganim is right next to the Gilboa mountain. There you go. So underneath the Gilboa mountain is the largest valley called the Jezreel Valley. And there is a person called Navot. Navot HaYisraeli. Notice that some explain that Navot is a nickname for what is that the nickname for? Navot. Nachalat Avot. Navot, the inheritance of the patriarchs. Why is it a nickname for that? Maybe the prophet calls him Navot because he's keeping the tradition. He's like a hardcore member of the Jewish people. He's not willing to sell to the king, Mr. Achav, not for money, not for a better vineyard, not for nothing. Why? He can say, I don't want you. God forbid. In other words, he's like putting down the king. But furthermore, we're told that it's part of his inheritance that he received from his ancestors. You don't sell that, do you? Or do you not? And he's facing now a king. We have a contest here. We have like this national religious zealot called Navot that's not willing to cooperate with the king, not to sell him. And we have opposite him a king who's left the tradition, who's helped bring idolatry into the country. It's proliferating. He has a wife who's almost like a witch. She's been out to kill the prophets of Israel. Thank you for the map. And that's what we have here. Yesterday, we saw 3 reasons why Navot, is not interested in selling the land to the king of Israel. Number 1, it's like a spiritual thing. Chalilali. Chalila from the word chol. I can't give this land to someone like you. It's like turning something holy into something mundane. Furthermore, nachalat avotai, it's inheritance of my father, my grandfather. I don't want to take out from my possession and give it to you. And 3, the third claim was like something pinching Achav. Lach, to give it to you, I'm not going to give it to you. How did Achav go home? First of all, he didn't object. He didn't say, well, I'll show you who's boss over here. He didn't do that. Some of you are explaining that here we're not talking about his national palace, because in Israel is not the area of the national palace. Rather, in which town is it? Shomron. Sebastia, they say Sebastia is the Shomron area. And the house that he has here is a private enterprise, a private home. It's not Melech Achav here in Israel. It's Achav, the private person. And maybe that's the reason. He's not confiscating. He's not showing that he's the boss here. Nonetheless, we saw that he goes home also saddened and angered. Why? Because someone turned him down. So it seems that his ego, the king of him, has been insulted. Okay? He goes home. It's interesting how the Tanakh shares with us in verse 4. He lies on his bed. He sounds like a little baby here. He's lying on his bed. He doesn't eat any food. Remembers us as we were kids. Remember when you didn't get what you wanted? You went on your bed, you kicked on the bed, and you screamed, and it didn't happen to you as a kid? Okay? Sounds like something. Wow, he's not even eating. And then let's go back and read from Pasuk verse 5. Vatavoy elav Jezebel ishto. Sounds like a personal drama now. His wife wants to see what's going on. Why doesn't he act like a king? He's not, he's lying in bed during the daytime hours. There's a lot of royal things that have to be done. But she speaks to him, Maze rucha chasara. What kind of, you have no wish, no desire, you're not speaking. What's going on? Is it a national strike day is it the labor union that you're joining them? What's going on here? You're not eating any meals. She noticed that she ate breakfast alone. She ate lunch alone. The king doesn't come. Pasuk Vav, verse 6. Vayidaber ela. He speaks to her. But he speaks to her in the language of Dibur. To remember, Dibur is harder language than softly, gently speaking. Seems to be insulted. Vayidaber ela. Ki adaber. I'm going to tell you something that happened. When I spoke to Navota Yisraeli, Va'omar lo, and I told him, T'nali et karmecha bekesef, sell it to me for money. O im chafetzata etna lecha kerem tachtav, vayomer eten lecha et karmi. All the possibilities of getting it was not issued by Navota Yisraeli. Okay, what was his answer? Where do we see that when he's telling the story, what hurts him so much? Vayomer lo etein lachat karmi. There it is. At the end of verse 6, we see that when he is repeating the event, when he's coughing up the incident, he doesn't say to her, but rather the most painful answer of Navot. And that is to give it to me. He doesn't want to give it to me. Meaning it's as if it's a personal affront. You see it, gentlemen? When he's relating the event before his wife, the three claims, he takes not claim number 1, he doesn't take claim number 2, he takes claim number 3. Lo etein lecha. I'm not going to give you my kerem. Why? Because he feels insulted. He feels, he hurt my feelings. I've been hit. So here we have an interesting contest here. Rabbi Yigal Ariel from the Golan in his Sefer on the Book of Kings here, he paints the picture. We have someone who's a national religious man like Navota Yisraeli, not willing to give up his lineage vineyard that comes from his ancestors, and opposite him is this assimilated king of Israel who married Jezebel, has allowed idolatry to go all over the country. We have a real major sinner. We have a major sinner in the form of Achav, and now he's meeting up with Navot, who's a man of the Nachala of his ancestors. Now, the battle here, is it a religious battle? Is it a spiritual battle? Or is it also a national battle? On the one hand, you can say, Mr. Navot is a God-fearing Jew, and he doesn't want to give up halachically a piece of land that he inherited from his father, that he got it from his grandfather. It's called Nachalat Avotav, the inheritance of his ancestors. Okay? But you could certainly say, how is the opening of this chapter? Vayihi achar advarim ha'elu. This event happening is not just a religious, spiritual matter. This is a national matter. The denial of Mr. Navot to a person who's betrayed the Jewish people, has betrayed the Torah and the mitzvot. Okay? What did he do at the end of the war, Achav? He shook hands with the enemy of Israel, and he said, you are my Achi, you're my brother. So maybe, and everyone knows about this, this is all news all over the country, at least in northern Israel. Okay? And now let's see how the wife, the first lady, pushes herself into the issue. Pasuk Zayin, verse 7. What is the immediate reaction of his wife? Vatomer elav Jezebel ishto, ata, you, ata now, Taseh melucha Yisrael? Is that how you're acting as the leader of a kingdom? By sitting in bed? Accepting the answer of a guy like this? Kum, get up. Echol lechem, v'itav libecha. You'll feel better if you eat. Ani eten lechat kerem navot. Ha-Yisraeli. She's so sure. I'll get it to you. In other words, she's rolling up her sleeves. She's going to devise a plan. And she says, this is not the way you become a leader. What's really the difference between Achav and Jezebel? Certainly Jezebel is a very decisive person. She wants to show her husband, you have to show authority. You can't be someone that just they run over you. They take advantage of you. Why? She comes from Tyre, Tzur, from the Lebanese coast. In the Lebanese coast, the ratzon of the king is very strong. Here, Achav is showing what? No, he didn't say anything. He just went home, he cried, he went on his bed, and he didn't do anything. But she, Jezebel, wow, is she a very, very strong person. She showed it already, her corruption. She went ahead and ordered the killing of what? Of who? The prophets of God, with or without justice, with or without a court system. No court system whatsoever, right? No court system whatsoever. However, here, regarding the taking away of property, we raised the question yesterday, why is she going to devise a plan? Why is she going to make up the fabric? How do you say that in English? To cook. She's going to cook up a lie, present false witnesses, to lie in court. She's going to call a public fast in a moment, we're going to see. And why is she doing this? Why not just roll up her sleeves and order the killing of Navot and take their property away? There's a difference between her religious laws, when she's going up against God and going up against the prophets, she'll do anything and everything by herself. But here, regarding social laws, things which are accepted by everyone, whether you're keeping Torah or not keeping Torah, social matters. Every person has the right to his own. Sophisticated the laws of the kingdom of Israel. And saying, you want a king? You don't want the prophet? Well, let me to take away your property. Remember, he starts giving us a long list of laws. I want to share with you 3 different approaches to the ability for a king to confiscate property. Look over here, gentlemen, on the worksheet that you have in front of you. Look at a source Gimel. In the middle of the speech of Shmuel, Perek Chet, he says, V'tzidotechem and your fields, v'tkarmechem your vineyards, v'zeitechem and your olive oils. I'm reading over here now. Hatovim yikach v'natan levedav. Yeah, it says explicitly the king has the ability to confiscate lands, fields, vineyards, whatever he wants, he can take. So what is the reason that Achav doesn't know his rights? That he can take the fields? So we want to give 3 answers regarding the laws called Mishpat HaMelech, the laws of the king. It's not so clear, black and white, that the king has unlimited rights, privileges to confiscate property. Okay? Because if so, if he does have the right, then why didn't he do it? And why is he going to be punished for being part of stealing property from Navot? Because Navot doesn't want to sell the property to him. Okay? This is the question that's asked, and therefore we're going to start bringing with these type of questions. Is it true that the king has unlimited rights to confiscate property? Well, Tosfot says the following. I'm reading it in Hebrew, letter Daled. Inami, if also, the Parshat HaMelech, when Tosfot talks about the section of the king, is referring to the words of Samuel the prophet, the rights of a king. Mishpat HaMelech lo ne'emra rak. Can two negatives make a positive? Al HaMelech shenimlach al kol Yisrael. V'Yehuda u'me'et hamakom. Gee, Tosfot says, the laws of rights of a king are limited. They're not absolute. Aleph, when are they applicable? When the king is indeed a king over all of Israel, not just northern Israel, but Judea, Yehuda as well. Furthermore, and when he's put into office by a Kadosh Baruch Hu himself. Okay? That's one answer. So, Navot, what does Navot know? Is Achav the king over all of Israel? No. He's only the king over northern Israel, the tribes of Ephraim and Asher and others. Was he put into office by God himself? No. He took over the king after his father. Property, came to expropriate property. You cannot do anytime you want. Why? Navot rightfully said, I'm sorry. Chalilally, God forbid. We're going to go up against the laws of the Torah? Answer number one. Answer number two is the Rambam. You see it in letter A. The Rambam in Hilchot Melachim, the laws of the kings, Perek Daled, chapter 4, Halacha Vav. The Rambam is going to explain, as he received in the oral Torah, the verses in the book of Shmuel of the Mishpat HaMelech, the laws of the judge, the laws of the justice of the king. The Rambam writes, do you see it? Because he's explaining the words of Sefer Shmuel. V'lokeach, do you know what the king can take? Hasadot, the fields, Hazeitim, the olive fields, Hakramim, the vineyards, Lavadav. He's allowed to confiscate property and give it to his servants. Any people working. When? Look at this. Kishielchu lemilchama. Only during emergency time. When Israel is at war and there's a need for food to feed the army, v'yifshetu al mikamot elu, then you're allowed to fall on these fields, take whatever food is there and take it away. Okay? When? Im ein lahem mayochlu. Emergency time. You're at war, your soldiers don't have anything to eat, you're allowed to confiscate property, take away their grains, take away their foods. Okay? Ela misham. But you know what you have to do? Notein demehem. Pay for what you took. In other words, the Rambam understood the speech of Samuel about the law of the king and his privileges and rights only in reference to in time of war, like an emergency time, when your soldiers, your workers have no food to eat, yet you have to pay them back. That is the second answer that we see here. Is this a time of war? Not a time of war. He asked, give me your property, give me your vineyard. So Mr. Navot says, no, I don't want to give it to you. Has every right to say no. Okay? By the way, the Radak explains the same thing as well. The Radak, Rabbeinu David ben Kimchi, I'm not going to read it right now. So, what do we have? From these two opinions, both Tosfot and the Rambam, the king of Israel does not have absolute ability to confiscate property, expropriate property, and take it. Only, according to one answer, if it's a time of emergency, then he has limited authority. What can he do? Can take it, but he must pay back. Okay? Here we're talking about, it's not the need of the kingdom. The kingdom doesn't need food. Here, it's for his own private matters. So therefore, we stand and better understand the situation here, Navot versus the king of Israel. if we just ponder a short time regarding about the law of the kings, look, the kings of Israel are supposed to bring social justice to the world, economic justice to the world, okay? Public justice managed by the king is supposed to bring good values to the Jewish people. If someone is cruel, if a king is thinking by himself, what can I do? And he's not going to be considerate to the rights of the individuals, that's going to lead to a rotten society, okay? Remember Shmuel when he came and gave his speech to the nation prior to the appointment of Saul. He wants to threaten the nation. You want a king? So you're going to have to bear. There could be taxes. There could be a situation, you know what? There might be a terrible king in the future that maybe will distort the laws of the king and take advantage for his own private enterprises. Okay? And this is what's happening now. Achav with his wife want to exploit their power, make up a case that Achav deserves death, kill him, and then take away the property. So basically, as we're about to read this plan devised by Mrs. What's her name? Jezebel, thank you. She and her husband are basically robbing Navot from his kerem. They're about to take away their property. Why? What? He doesn't agree for me to take away the property? I'm insulted. Let's see what she does. Verse 8. Pasuk Chet. V'achtichtov svarim b'shem Achav. V'atachtov b'chotamo. You see the corruption already happening here. She invents decrees, sends them out publicly in whose name? Achav. Who signs them? She takes the ring. Remember, a chotemet was a ring, was a seal, right? You would seal documents. So she's lying. She's taking her husband's seal. She's creating documents, and she's sending it out to the town of where Mr. Navot is. She's Elaskeda Navot. So basically, she's mocking her husband, as well as she's mocking Navot. Okay, I'm going to show you how you rule. You have to have authority. You have to show that you're a boss. You cannot accept no for an answer. Part 1. Part 2, Pasuk Tet. V'tichtov b'sfarim lemor. What's written in the decree? Oh, I'm going to show them very religious. Kir'u tzom. Declare a fast day. What? If there is a major event happening in the town, then what has to be done? We have to prevent social danger. We have to prevent social corruption. Let's first get closer to God. Let's make a fast day because we don't want society to be endangered. We don't want the kingdom to be endangered. So let's declare what? A fast day. Voshivu et Navot b'Rosh Ha'am. Who is Rosh Ha'am? The commentaries say we're talking about the Sanhedrin, the high court of Israel. So here, she's declaring a public fast day. She wants to judge one of the VIPs in town called Navot, as if he did what? A crime against the king, against society. And then we're going to have witnesses. What are the witnesses going to say? Pasuk Yud. She's making this up. Okay? Voshivu shnayim anashim b'nei Viliyal negdo. Let me ask you something. Do you think she has it written in these decrees that two rotten people, the prophet, do more, these two guys will testify against Navot, quote, Beirachta Elohim v'melech. Do you understand the language here? Beirachta. Have you come across this before in your study of Chumash? Say it. It's what?
Sounds familiar. Don't want to use bad language. So
you're right. We don't want to say literally cursing Hashem.
Oh.
So we use a positive language. What is that called? A euphemism. Thank you. We say, you know what Navot is accused of? Beirachta Elokim v'melech. He blessed God and he blessed the king. It means the opposite. Now look, she's turning this not only into a national tragedy against the king, but they're accusing Navot of what? Of a religious crime. Heresy, blasphemy. That's terrible. Beirachta Elokim. So gentlemen, two liars are willing to go ahead and bring testimony against the king, and that they also blasphemed God. And what is the claim? Votzi'u v'siklu v'yamot. That's what they want. They're charging him that he should be taken out and stoned to death, because that is truly the penalty, the death penalty for, God forbid, blaspheming God. Some of you know how many death penalties does the Sanhedrin have to their 4. And what is the order of the 4?
In severity? Hanging?
No. Are they like the 4 way that they will
Let him speak, let him speak. Speak.
Hanging, decapitation.
What do you mean by... So he's starting from the bottom and you're starting from the top. Sreifa, hereg, and chenek. Stoning, sreifa, burning lead. Hereg, stabbing him, and chenek, strangulation. Okay? Stoning, right? Pulling him off a 2-story building, and if not, if he doesn't die, then he's stoned.
One of them also?
Burning is second.
Oh yeah.
It's a yes.
Yeah.
It's a mission of Masechet Sanhedrin. Nonetheless, they're clever, and they're terrible, and they're cruel, that they want to do what? They want to use a public tactic, a task of fast. It's a religious tone to this matter. It's as if that Achav and his wife are protecting the religious values of the Jewish people, which is holy baloney. And second, they're not gonna, you understand, they just can't go ahead, kill Navot, and take the property away, because the nation has some basic norms, basic values of social rights, economic rights, your property rights. They would not accept that. They would probably rebel and knock off Achav. And therefore, she's very clever. She's very smart but cruel. And therefore, she doesn't rock the boat. She devises this makeup system of sending 2 liars to give this matter. So gentlemen, this judgment that we're studying here of Navot, that Jezebel and Achav are doing, they want to show that they have power. Someone that does not show respect to curse Hashem. So they're, in a lying way, taking advantage of the laws of the Torah. Got a question or comment? We're going to stop here. We'll continue tomorrow. Bezrat Hashem.